Welcome back to the next episode of the Cole and Austin podcast. My name is Cole Strasburg.
And this is Austin McKenzie.
And here we go. So the first thing I wanted to ask you about, Austin, today is, have you ever hit any animals in your car?
Yeah, I hit one about 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay. Is that the only thing you've ever hit? Just the one?
No, I hit another one like 2 years ago.
Okay. So what'd you hit a couple years, like 7 years ago?
Okay, so my first one, I had this little 94, 95 Accent Hyundai. It's a little manual. It's like a granny mobile.
Nice.
Like the wind blowing me away could have wrecked that car. So a friend and I are going up to a party in the woods, like way up in the freaking boondocks. And I'm going up this little gravel road. And this little possum, I see my buddy goes, hit that possum. I'm like,
oh, he calls it out?
Yeah. He said, hit the possum. So I'm like, man, that's pretty horrible, dude. Like, just hit him. And he was like, yeah, just hit him. So I gave him a chance. I was slowly creeping up to him. I was like, bro, I don't want to do this. And then I just gunned it. I said, fuck it, I'm going. I'm not waiting for this possum to cross the street, right? So I gun it. Bow, get his ass. So
Jesus Christ.
So my buddy goes, damn, bro, you actually did it. And I was like, well, I was kind of getting pissed that he wasn't moving. So I just said, screw it, I'm going.
I'm just picturing like this innocent little possum going across the road.
No. Possums are not innocent and no.
Well,
no.
I just picture this car like slowing down, being like, yeah, I'm considering this. And then just at the last second, like, yeah, what the heck, gunning it to like 35, 40 and being like, bump, there he goes.
So, no, man, he was taking too long to cross. So I hit him. And I look in the rearview mirror, man, he's like tweaking out.
You made it worse.
I feel bad now. I'm like,
did you throw it in reverse?
Yes, I did.
Oh my God.
Yes, I did.
I was kidding.
Nope. I whipped that bitch into the R and boom, hit him again. Right?
Did you at least finish the job?
Oh no. It gets worse. So after he mocked me, right? After he's tweaking, I hit the reverse. I get him. Get him again. This dude tweaks for a little bit and then all of a sudden gets up like nothing happened. Like he's not injured or nothing. I thought it was like Superman possum. He just got up, looked at me, wagged his tail, and then he was like, haha, screw you. You didn't get me. So I'm like, oh, hell no, dude. I whipped it into like second or third gear and I just bam, get it. Oh, I got him this time.
Was he like
done?
Yeah,
he's dead.
He probably stood up and was like, why?
Yeah.
Why did you break my back?
Yeah, it was like his last breath or something. But yeah, man, freaking possum mocked me. So my buddy like told everybody at the party how heartless of a human I was for killing this possum. And I'm looking at him like, dude, this...
Motherfucker, you're the one that told me
this was your idea.
Right?
Like, what?
Okay, so what about a few years ago? What was the other one that you hit?
Dad buys a new Subaru, a little new 2018 Subaru.
Slam Scooby.
So he buys a new Subaru. He's letting me use it for a little bit before I get another car. I'm driving home, and there's a spot that's 50. It's like it goes from 35 to 50.
Was this when we were at school in Ellensburg? Or was this?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. And it might have been a little bit after. I think it was after.
All right.
But so I'm driving home, and I go from 35 to 40. Well, it's pitch dark, and I see a deer in like his little white butt up there. And then his bright eyes that light up, I see him.
Oh, yeah.
So I start slowing down. I go from 50 to 35 again. Well, when I'm going 35, I'm getting closer to the deer. Dude, this deer just jumps out. Could have went into the fields. Could have went into the forest that was literally right to his right or her right. Nope. He just turned his head and was like, this is the day, and jumped out in front of me, and I whacked the shit out of its face. It pooped along the side of my car.
Oh, well, that's nasty.
Yeah. So I go home, and...
did it just kind of like bounce off? I mean, you could just keep driving, or did it do much damage to the car? What happened?
It got the front passenger wheel pretty good.
Okay.
So it left a huge dent, poop along the side of the car. I'm like, dude, screw this. I don't want to deal with this, let the birds at it, let nature have it.
Jesus.
So I just left on the side of the road, and then I drove off, and I'm like, Dad, Bambi pooped all over your car, and I don't know what to do now. So he was like, God damn it, son. But yeah, man, how many animals have you hit? Because I feel like I feel like an awful human being now.
Let's put it this way. Countless rabbits. I can't even count how many rabbits that I've hit just because, like, all my life I've basically lived out in the middle of BFE, out in the middle of nowhere, and animals just kind of cross the road. So I'll be like, just driving into town or something, trying to go down the hill through all the forests and the back roads, and all of a sudden, bam, there goes a little rabbit. Thump, thump, there he goes. There goes Thumper. Thump, thump. Yeah, I've hit a few rabbits. I personally, was the deer that you hit a full-size deer, or was it a legit, like, Bambi little fawn?
No, I think it was a mom.
Okay,
yeah, I think it was a mom.
So I hit, like, a legit Bambi little baby. This thing couldn't have been taller than, like, 3 feet tall. Like, this thing was tiny.
Wow.
Yeah,
You're awful.
Couple years, very similar to your story, actually. Me and one of my buddies, we were going off to a party out in this cabin over on this lake out in the middle of nowhere. And I was going far too fast for this corner. I think the speed limit was about 40 or something, and I was going 60 around this bend, and it was one of those wide, long bends to where, like, you can't really see much around the corner. There's a bunch of bushes in the ditch, sort of, so it was hard to see around, and I'm just bombing along 60, and all of a sudden, it was just like a flash. There was baby little fawn standing in the middle of the road, facing away from me, and mama deer standing in the ditch looking at me, and it was literally a split second. I see this Bambi. I go to tap on my brakes. I'm like, this is just going to make it worse. So I just hammered the gas up to like 65, almost 70. And I won't tell you the sound that it made, but it was pretty horrific. And my buddy was sitting in the passenger seat, and we both kind of just looked at each other and, like, didn't say anything. I saw the little tears rolling up in his eye. I felt the tears rolling up in my eyes. And I was like, fuck, yeah, Jesus Christ.
That's awful.
Oh, dude, I felt terrible. There was on the same road, I want to say a year and a half or so after that, I was coming back. Cabin was owned by my friend's grandparents, and I tried taking a girl there because I thought I was going to be Mr. Rico Suave, have a good night with the lady sort of thing. It was all right. And then we were driving back the next day, and we come right up. There's one stoplight on the way back from that, like, out of the back roads to this place before you get to any sort of semi-civilization. And it's right before we got to that stoplight. We were just driving along, and I don't even know what kind of bird swooped down. Literally, it was like if you've seen the Randy Johnson fastball where he throws the ball and he hits the bird that swoops by and it just explodes right in front of the plate.
Yeah.
It was like that.
Big unit.
Yeah, it was just like that. It swooped down in front of my car, hit my right front headlight, and just exploded. There was feathers everywhere. We got to the light, and I stopped, and I got out and looked and was like, there's nothing on my car but some feathers stuck to the headlight, so I'm just going to pretend that didn't happen. The girl sitting in the car was like, oh, my God, you just hit a bird. I'm like, the fuck do you want me to do about it? It's dead. It's gone.
So I've had pretty close calls with birds. I always see, like, birds. So my ex, every time we were driving, you ever notice, like, girls that always pick out the worst in you when you're driving?
Oh, well, I feel like anyone that is passenger with me is just like, you're going too fast.
Yeah, but, like, I feel like when you're with your buddies, like, this goes.
Yeah, they kind of give less of a shit.
Yeah, this goes for, like, everybody. Like, when you're with friends and everything, it's like, screw it. I know he's a good driver. He just hit that corner hard.
I find that it happens. What you're explaining most is with a significant other.
Yeah. Just like girlfriend, wife, husband, boyfriend, whatever. Like, every time.
Hey, honey, you should probably slow down in this turn.
Yeah, it's like, how many accidents do you have? You got 5 compared to my 1. Like. Who gave you the right to tell me how to drive?
Yeah, that one's a struggle. I know between my brother, my sister, and I, we've always argued growing up, like, no, I'm the better driver. No, I'm the better driver. No, I'm the better driver. And I still to this day thoroughly believe that I am the best driver of all of us, but that's just my opinion. And in the last few years, my sister's kind of like, I do think that you're a better driver than our brother is. I'm like, yeah, it just goes to show.
Which is weird because I've been with you driving. You're a little wild sometimes.
I mean, I like to live on the edge, live on the wild side.
Dude, Ellensburg, we'd be whipping through those neighborhoods.
Are you kidding? Ellensburg was something else. There's like, well, here's the difference: is we lived over there when one, while there was students in the town, when there was about 12,000 people in the town with the students, and then through the summer when all the students left and there was like 3,000 people in the town, I got used to driving around in the summer like, oh, there's no one here. I'll just whip this bitch.
Yeah.
And then people come back and I'm like, oh, nobody knows how to use a four-way. I forgot about that.
Right.
That was
Thank
the
God
biggest
there's no
struggle.
roundabouts. Well, there was one roundabout in Ellensburg, but
Yeah,
that
there
was
was
close
one.
to your work. Yeah.
Yeah, it was right
Yeah, I was
next
gonna
to my
say,
work.
thank God there's no roundabouts in Midtown, because that would have been awful.
That would have been that was one of my biggest complaints when we were at Ellensburg is nobody knows how to drive. That was such a pain in the ass. You just go through town and it's like, there's a red light and this kid who's 18, freshman in college, first time he's not lived at home with his parents, is all footloose and fancy free. I could do whatever the fuck
He's got to make his own decision driving now.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, that was a stoplight he just went through, and then, oh, he's still going. That's another stoplight he went through. Oh, there's a stop sign he just blew through. Oh, yep, that guy doesn't know what he's doing.
Man,
That was such a pain in the ass.
Anyways, dude, big news.
Big news.
Have you heard the GameStop trend that's going on?
So I'm not knowledgeable at stocks. I've learned more about stocks over the last week than I have the first 26 years of my life. And I tell you what, it has been interesting and kind of a ride because the little knowledge I know is blowing my mind.
Okay, I got you. Okay, and first of all, before we get into it, you need to know what a short is in stocks.
Okay. All right.
A short is when you borrow a stock from a broker and sell it immediately at its current price.
Okay. Explain to me what that means. Okay, go ahead.
Then you hope the stock's price falls such that you can buy the stock back at a lower price and return the shares you borrowed to your broker, but keeping the difference. Okay.
Okay,
So
I'm following.
So for example, let's say I want to short XYZ, which has a current price of $10.
All right.
Okay. I borrow one share and sell it immediately at $10. I have $10 now, but I owe my broker the one share I borrowed, which is the $10. So I have $0. And that broker gets all $10.
Okay. How does that make any sense? Because the exact same $10 is just changing hands. How does he make money off that? Is it basically like you bought the stock
because you borrowed it from him in the first place, so you never had $10 to begin with.
Okay.
So you gained it for a second, but then you sold it at the current price, so you never back to the broker. So he made $10. He made his $10 back.
Okay, so everyone's breaking even in this example.
Pretty much. And then the guy who had to borrow has nothing.
Okay.
Okay. So I now have $10 and I owe my broker the one share I borrowed. Then let's say the price of XYZ drops to $7.
Right.
I now decide to buy it back, in quote, my short position and buy one share at $7 and return the one borrowed share to my broker. I made $10 when I sold and I only had to pay $7 to buy it back lower. So my profit is the $3 difference.
Okay, I'm following you now.
Correct? Okay. But now let's say instead of the XYZ price dropping to $7, it goes up to $15.
All right.
Okay, so now we're going up. I still need to return the one borrowed share to my broker, except now it's going to cost me a lot more to buy it back.
Okay.
Because it's $15 now. If I buy it back at $15, I can return the borrowed shares. My losses will be the $5 difference between selling at $10 and rebuying at $15.
All right.
Okay, so you lose $5. Since the price can rise indefinitely, my potential losses as a short seller are unlimited.
That makes sense.
At some point, I have to buy it back to return the shares I borrowed. The more the price rises, the bigger my losses.
Got it.
Okay, remember, because I lost the $5 if it's 15. If the price keeps rising,
okay,
I'm losing more and more money.
This example is starting to make the GameStop stock thing make more sense to me now.
Yep. Now for GameStop, we're on to the GameStop
All right,
scene.
let's go with this one.
A few weeks ago, a Redditor on Wall Street Bets noticed that a hedge fund had taken a massive amount of short trades against GameStop. They convinced everyone on the thread to join forces and buy as much GameStop as possible, just like the big boys do to all of us poor people.
All right.
Okay. This made the price rise and the hedge fund's short position started to lose billions.
Okay, so
So the
basically
big
a
boys
bunch
were
of
losing billions of dollars.
so a bunch of internet trolls just went, fuck it if I don't make any money. I want to screw these guys.
We're going to play your game. We're going to play
Okay.
Wall Street's game.
All right.
Their losses even surpassed $13.1 billion that the hedge fund was worth. Eventually,
Oh my God.
right? Eventually, the hedge fund had to close their short positions and buy all the GameStop stock back at much, much higher prices, sending the price even higher still. This is called a short squeeze.
Okay, so basically people bought it to make it more expensive, and then the rich people were going, oh shit, it's just going up. Let's buy it now, even though it's expensive as hell.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's crazy.
Now the hedge fund is declaring bankruptcy, and the Reddit thread is combing through other hedge funds with massive short exposures so they can short squeeze them into bankruptcy as well.
So is that what's happening with AMC now too? Because I know they're kind of on that same train. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All of Wall Street is saying that the public joining together in this fashion should be illegal, but really, they just lost at their own game.
Damn, that is solid.
Yep.
I don't. Oh man, I don't know where you got that example, or if you made it up and you just.
It's
wrote
an
it down
example.
there.
It was a Reddit user explaining it
Okay.
to everybody. So,
All right, that's a good example because I kind of was following it and sort of had an idea of what was going on, but not a really good grasp of it.
Mm-hmm.
After hearing that, it kind of just puts it in like layman's terms for the idiots like myself, and it's like, oh, okay, that makes more sense now.
So now the two guys who had started it are some of the richest people on Earth.
Damn.
Yep.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All because a band of poor people, Joe Schmoes, came together and said, screw you, Wall Street. We're doing what you're doing.
So that reminds me then of the Robinhood app that the GameStop stock. Jesus Christ, that's hard to say. I'm just going to say the GameStop.
Yeah. It was a mouthful for me too.
Yeah. So anyway, that app basically you can just like download it on your phone and start doing stocks right there. It seems super simple. They were in on this whole GameStop thing. And from what I understand, once it exploded, they stopped the selling or the buying or whatever it is. And from what I think, that's super illegal. And from what I've read, you're not allowed to do that. So a lot of people are starting to sue Robinhood now because they can't. It's literally right in the name. They're like, we want to take from the rich and give to the poor. Well, the poor people started doing that and they weren't happy with it.
Right. So on Monday, it actually changes. Robinhood will allow Monday, February 1st?
Yes.
Monday, February 1st, it'll change. So it goes, Robinhood will continue to limit trading on Monday in February 1st in short squeeze names like GameStop. The millennial favored stock trading app has cut down its list of restricted stocks from as many as 50 on Friday to 8 on Monday. The eight names, GameStop, AMC Entertainment, BlackBerry, Koss, Express, Nokia, Genius Brands International, and Naked Brand Group.
So these are all companies that are putting like restrictions on buying and selling?
So on Monday, the restriction for like GameStop, you can only get one stock, one
Is
share.
that even illegal to do? Are they allowed to do that?
That would be something we'd have to look into, but it doesn't sound right.
No, it does
just
not.
morally, it doesn't sound right. But, like people bitch and moan on the internet these days, well, they're private companies and private businesses. They get to do what they want. Like, okay, dude, like I forget that you're the same person that bitches about morals when a company does something you don't like.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, no, it's actually pretty interesting. And for a lot of people who don't know stocks, I think stocks are a pretty interesting thing to get into.
You could definitely make a lot of money off of it.
Yeah, and other than the money aspect, but I think just understanding what goes on when stuff like this happens.
I think it's so funny that stocks are something that anyone can do, and obviously the people on Wall Street are like the professional athletes of the stock exchange.
They've been doing it for years. They're in like suits every day since they were like 12.
Yeah, they know what the fuck they're doing. And then just the Joe Schmoes like you and I have a chance to go in and do the same thing. Well, once we start playing ball at their level, they're like, whoa, you can't just do this.
Damn, these motherfuckers got brain cells?
I'm the LeBron James of this. You're not supposed to be able to come in and just buy and sell like anybody.
We're like rookies. We're just like everybody who goes to Barnes and Nobles and they're like, I'm just gonna read a book on stocks and now I know stocks.
You remember that movie? I want to say Mark Wahlberg was in, where he was the walk-on guy that ends up playing like quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Invincible. He's wide receiver for
wide receiver or something.
Yep.
That it just makes me think of that, like just some Joe Schmo walking into the big leagues and being like, I could do this. Let's try it out. And then he does it and he gets into the league. And I just picture that happens in Wall Street and everyone's like, get this guy out of here. He can't do this. What the hell? He's not on our level.
Dude, that's pretty much every sports comeback movie or like feel good movie. But yeah, no, I mean, it's good to see the small guys win every once. I really hope that, I don't think people should necessarily go to jail, but I mean, it's illegal. And
it's super illegal.
It's super illegal, but I don't think they're going to send them to jail.
Nah, no way.
I think they'll just give them a slap on the wrist and be like, don't do that to the poor people again.
Through all of this, like, I'm not trying to get political on anything here, but through these last, like, year and a half of, like, all this crazy shit happening in the world, I thoroughly believe now there is a whole different set of rules for the rich people than there is regular people like you and I. Like
100%.
There are laws, quote unquote, in this world, and then there's laws for the rich people.
If you got money.
Yeah,
there's laws if you got money.
And it's so unfair, and it's so like, now that it's all coming to light and it's just like out in the public and everyone can see how unfair it is, you want to do something about it, but what do you do? What can you do when the rich people basically run the world and we start getting up to their level and they go, I've got the money to crush you. You're not going to do this.
So let me ask you this. There's a lot of old people in Congress, obviously.
Yeah.
Like literally people who have been born in 1940 are still making rules for us, right? Do you think kids in our generation, or just, men and women, do you think we have a drive for political aspirations?
Yes. And I only say that because I believe the percentage of politicians in relation to the actual population is so small that even in like the 30s and 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, back in our parents' generation and grandparents' generation, there wasn't as much distractions, technology, video games, electronics, devices, and shit like that to distract them from doing these kind of things. So I feel like there was more people that were interested in politics and whatnot because there was less things in the world to be interested in. That being said, I can definitely remember being in high school and there was 2, 3, 4 kids in the entire school that would like show up to school, as you mentioned earlier, when they were like, oh yeah, these big boys showing up to being in suits since they were 12 years old. Mm-hmm. I can remember kids going to school in a suit and tie every single day, carrying around like that.
The briefcase.
Kind of binder thing. So I do thoroughly believe there are people out there that are in our generation that are just as interested and have more resources towards knowledge and more history of things that have happened that they can reflect on and look back on and take that into consideration when they make their decisions. I just think that portion of people in relation to the population now is a lot lower than it used to be.
My thing is, I think, so how do you, a lot of our generation has crazy ideas.
Yeah.
Like, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
Like shit that is just like, what? Like I couldn't even see that in my lifetime.
I'm Pastafarian. I worship the flying spaghetti monster.
Yeah, they fucking see themselves as like penguins or what, they identify themselves as whatever.
And you know what? You do you, as long as you're not hurting anybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can do whatever you want. That's your own business. But do you think that our generation would make too many rash decisions compared to the older generations? Which is why a lot of us aren't in, political positions.
My opinion on that is that in the older generations, there was much more of a structured, this is the American dream. Everybody back then is trying to grow up, have a wife or a husband and 2.5 kids, a dog, white picket fence, blah, blah, blah. Like that was more often than not seen as aspirations for most people in the American world. So I think that now, since our ideologies have changed at least a little bit since then, I think that the decisions that we make are going to be looked at as more rash or more radical or a little bit out there, because simply just because times are changing and not everyone wants that typical American dream anymore of spouse, 2.5 kids, dog, cat, white picket fence, blah, 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 blah. Some people might want to live in a penthouse apartment with no significant other, no pets, and that's their version of like, dude, I have made it. Some people, they want to live under a bridge with 12 cats and a tent, and they look at themselves and go, this is the damn life for me. So
right. Yeah, it reminds me of that picture for when it says like, how could like women's reactions, how could men think this is acceptable? And it's like literally a lawn chair, like a cooler right next to it, and then a TV on the ground, and there is nothing else in the room. It's
like sitting out inside of a yard.
And it just reminds me of that. I'm talking to my buddy, a good friend of mine, the other day, and he was saying, dude, that if I'm 35, rooming with some buddies still, I'm cool. You know? He said as long, he's like, I'm not gonna rush myself into a relationship with a girl and force myself to be happy just so I can fit the narrative of, like you said, the American dream or whatever your parents want. Because I know my mom, love her to death, she wants me to have a kid.
Oh yeah, I feel.
She's like, well, yeah, grandbaby soon. Like, I'm 24.
Right?
What are you
Slow
talking
down there, Mom.
Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm not having kids till I'm like 30. 31, 32, something like that.
I think part of that is because like our parents and their parents' generation growing up is like, I can think of my grandma. She had her 4th kid. We were just talking about this the other day. I'm 26. She had her 4th kid at 26. And I'm just looking at her like, Grandma, I can't even fathom having one child at 26 right now, let alone you already having she had her first kid at 16, so being 26 years old and having a 10-year-old kid, I don't know exactly all my uncles like ages apart, but like I got 4 uncles and then my mom was their 4 kids, so it'd be like my first uncle, I know he was when she was 16, and I know my mom was 10 years after that at 26, so I couldn't even imagine being 26 right now and sitting here being like, yeah, I got a 10-year-old kid, a 7-year-old kid, a 5-year-old, and I'm just having a newborn now. Like, what the hell? No way.
What? I couldn't imagine it because I don't know how I would raise my kid, because I'm still trying to teach my parents certain things that our generation does.
I'm still trying to figure out my own life, let alone help raise someone else's life.
Yeah, well, exactly. I need to figure out my own shit before I raise a little mini Austin, but you know, I'm still trying to tell my parents, grandparents how I am as a person.
Oh yeah, trust me, I agree.
And open up to them to tell them like, hey, I'm not what you guys want me to be. I don't want to be in the military, for instance.
Yeah, that's a big one for a lot of families that are like,
my grandparents really wanted me to be in the military. Like,
I'm 4th generation military boy. What do you mean you don't want to go in the military?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, but yeah, no, I know that reaction, but it wasn't like that. It's just, you know, I don't want to be in the military. I don't want to be in law enforcement. I don't want to be a firefighter. I don't. You know, kudos to you if you are. I give you the highest respect, but it's just certain things that I think our parents and grandparents grew up with where I'm just trying to teach them we're different.
Okay, give me like the top 2 or 3 things that you can remember growing up in your lifetime that you go to your parents and say like, hey, I don't want to do this, or hey, I'm into this, or something that was like the biggest shock to them. Like, whoa, you don't want to do that? Or like, oh my God, you've played soccer your whole life. What do you mean you don't want to go and try to take on this scholarship? Like, is there anything that's happened in your life that like just totally caught your parents blindside and they're like, holy Jesus, what?
Nah, I don't really. I think my parents are a little different. My dad really accepts anything that comes around. My mom was really surprised that I never ever, if I were to ever make it in soccer, I never ever wanted to play for the Sounders.
Okay.
Ever. I despise.
So just for the folks out there, Austin's actually good at soccer. Like he went and played what, D1 or something, or?
No, I played community college ball at Pierce, and then I played on academy European team over in Norway, Sweden, and Finland.
See, I don't even know what that stands for or what level that is, but that sounds pretty damn good.
I got offered a contract my last week of the academy.
For like a professional team?
Yeah, in Sweden for Boden's BK.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was up in Sweden.
You're even better than I thought you were at soccer.
Well, I didn't take it, so.
So either way, that being said, your mom was kind of blown away at like, wow, you wouldn't even want to play for the Sounders? That's like our hometown.
Yeah, I just too many politics in the game when I was growing up here in Washington.
I could definitely see that.
And a lot of people I knew in the area were doing the same stuff I was. And
so you just kind of wanted to get out of that scene.
I thought it was favoritism towards the end.
I feel that all too close to home on high school soccer team.
Right. Well, I started playing when I came back home from Europe. I played with the Stars reserve team for a little bit.
What level is that? Is that like the AAA for
like semi-pro? I guess you could say.
Damn, that's so cool.
Because the Stars have a pro team.
Okay,
they've had a pro indoor team since like the 70s. Like
all
Dad
right.
used to watch them and stuff. But
now is the Stars? Are they a Washington-based team?
Yeah,
Okay.
Tacoma Stars.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so when I played with the reserves and nothing against the dudes I was playing with, I just felt like a lot of them, because they were older or because they had known the coaches or been around the team for like 2 or 3 years, just like got automatic spots. So I felt like I'm not a caterer. I don't cater to people.
So you felt like no matter how hard you busted your ass, even if you were the best on the team, they might get the starting spot over you.
Just whether I was the best, yeah. Just whether I thought I was the best, or I know I worked harder. I know for sure. When it comes to hard work, I do not take that lightly.
Trust me, I know that.
I will. Yeah, I will. I promise you, I take pride in my hard work.
Good. Well, I hope everyone does.
So I just think for soccer, it just got to a point where it was favoritism.
Okay.
So I didn't like that, but yeah, my mom was pretty surprised I didn't want to play for the Sounders. I didn't want to go to a 4-year at first. My mom was really, really surprised for that.
No
kidding. My mom just wanted me to go to a 4-year right off the bat for high school. And Dad was like, no, like you should play Pierce. You should go to Pierce because it's cheaper.
Follow your dreams and play ball, boy.
Yeah, so I think not going to a 4-year right off the bat was pretty surprising for Mom. And yeah, other than that, my dad's pretty accepting for everything. He wants us to be our own person, and my mom for certain things. For certain things, she gets surprised about, but I think as she gets older, she's starting to realize that her kids are very different than who she is, and I think she's coming to a better understanding from it.
Well, that's good. I think one of the things for myself that was most like, wow, Cole, you're actually into that, and I know this is going to be just sort of goofy, is when I started smoking pot, my parents were so disappointed. They were like, what the hell's wrong with you, boy? And now it's like, smoking weed anymore is so people don't even look at that as a drug. It's like, do you do any drugs? And they're like, no, I just like I drink and I smoke weed and cigarettes and whatnot. And it's like, oh, so you do it, or you smoke pot? And then they're like, no, weed's not a drug. Weed's just not a drug. And so
it's a natural plant.
Growing up, my parents were very strict growing up. Long before they got divorced or anything, they were super, if we so much as find out that you guys have gotten into the alcohol cabinet, or you even so much as touch marijuana, you're going to military camp. Like, you're going to boot camp. We don't care. You're going somewhere, because we ain't having that shit. And whether they were serious or kidding or not, I didn't know, because 10 years old, your parents tell you something, you think they are the end all be all of knowledge at that age. So I'm like, oh shit, I can't do this. And so for up until I was 19 was the first time that I actually tried drinking anything or smoking anything or whatever. I remember doing it, and then my parents, right before they got divorced, they noticed like, oh, Cole really likes smoking Swishers. Where the hell did that come from? And I even like brought home a pack of grape Swishers one day, and my mom was out back working, because we have horses and we have like an arena and whatnot. So she was doing some work with a horse, and I brought home this pack of two pack of grape Swishers, and I was like, hey, Dad, how funny would it be if we walked out back and we're smoking Swishers, and our mom saw this? And he was like, all right, whatever. And so we lit up these grape Swishers and walked out back, and we were smoking them, and my mom saw us smoking and saw me exhale something and was like, what the hell is that? And she walked over and like totally dropped what she was doing. Like, the horse just kind of kept running in circles and doing its thing, and my mom just like walked over and was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I thought it'd be kind of funny to smoke these grape Swishers. And she was like, sure, funny, huh? And then we got done. She went back to doing her horse stuff, and me and my dad walked back, put him out, because that is the one time in my entire life I've ever seen my dad smoke anything. Never once have I seen him take an inhale of anything else other than air. I mean, he likes to chew, but that's it. That's his one vice, really.
Yeah.
And so after that, they were kind of like, our son's really interested in these Swisher cigars. That's interesting. And I didn't know growing up at all, like, because my parents were so adamant about no drinking, no smoking, all that kind of stuff, I thought that they were like angels growing up. I thought, oh man, they must have never even touched this shit when they were a kid. Come to find out years later, my mom was like, yeah, me and your dad, we used to do this and that right up before you guys were born. And I was like, no shit, really? And they were like, yeah, every once, like, we weren't potheads, we weren't stoners, but like every once in a while, if it was just kind of fun thing to do, whatever, we would just, I don't know, light up a doobie or something. I'm like, no shit. I would have had not a clue. So that was going back, getting off on a little bit of a tangent here. That was one of the things that for my parents was just kind of like, oh yeah. And I remember I told my mom that I was like smoking pot because she was kind of onto it. And then my dad came to me one time and he was like, do you smoke? Do you smoke weed? And I was, well, he said, do you smoke? And I was like, well, no, cigarettes are gross. And he was like, no. Do you smoke weed? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I knew it. Why? Why do you smoke weed? That's bad for you. And then he started doing like the whole Reefer Madness movie from the 30s, why everything's so horrible for you and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just kind of like, oh man, this is so disappointing to my father. Guess it's time to go light up a doobie and show him what's what. Like, no. So that was one of the few things growing up in my day that was just sort of, everything else other than that is just sort of, oh, you want to go to college? Okay. Oh, you want to go do this? All right. You don't want to play soccer or whatever? Are you sure? Okay, whatever. And there's only one thing I can think in my life that I ever quit, and that was U10 baseball. And my mom made sure that I was 100% certain I wanted to quit that because I did not get any playing time. And she was like, Cole, I've always taught you, you do not start something and not finish it. If you start something and don't finish it, that's like, it's a big no-no. And I just remember like crying to my Mom, I can't do U10 baseball. I'm playing up on like, I'm 10 years old. There wasn't enough kids for my league. So I'm playing on like U12, U13. Everyone's older than me. Everyone's right at where they're starting to hit puberty and get older. And I'm still a couple years below that. So like, I'm trying to throw the baseball from the outfield and I can barely get it to first base. And all these other kids are like, oh, catch it at the home run, the warning track, and throw it all the way to second and then to home. I'm like, I can't do that. What the hell? Yeah, of course I want to quit, Mom. Get me out of this shit. This sucks.
Damn, at least your mom let you cry. Get it out.
Yeah, she was at least very loving about that.
I was going to say, every time I cried, my mom was like, quit crying, you puss. Like,
oof, tough love.
Yeah. I think tough love's okay, actually.
I mean, yeah, in some instances.
Now that I'm grown up, though. When I was 12, though, nah, it was not okay.
Not okay.
That spatula haunts me.
I was lucky. My parents never, like, actually hit us with any spatulas or anything. They always, at least me, my brother and sister, I guess, they telling the stories, they always got spanked growing up. I got spanked one time. It was when I was a little bit older, like 7 or so. We were on a 7 or 8, I can't remember. We were on a family hike sort of thing, and I was irritating the shit out of my dad for some reason, I want to say, or I was irritating my mom, and then my dad spanked me, and he hit me, I think, one time, and I was pissed at him for the rest of the trip. I don't remember it so much, but I remember my mom just telling me, like, yeah, for the rest of that trip, you were just pissed at your dad and you didn't want to talk to him. I'm like, well, I mean, that makes sense, being 8 years old, 7 years old or whatever, and your dad finally being fed up with you and being like, all right, I'm not taking this shit anymore, and then spanking you. Like, yeah, I could see me being pissed at him, but
it's hard for me to be mad at Pops. Pops and I are always like watching movies and YouTube together, so it's like if I get mad at him, I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, I fucking.
Well, I mean, when I'm 7 years old, we're not sitting watching YouTube and Netflix shows.
Well, I just meant when I was younger, it was hard to stay mad at him because he always like rewarded us with something afterwards.
That is true. My parents, they said my sister got the worst of it, but one time my mom was spanking my brother with the wooden spoon because, like I said, I never got the wooden spoon or anything. They always threatened, and I'd just be like, I don't want to cause any trouble, so we're not going to go there. But she said that she was spanking my brother with a wooden spoon, and he just started laughing at her because it didn't really hurt. So my mom was crying because she was so angry, and my dad finally got home from work and was like, here, you take the wooden spoon and you spank him with it, because my brother was just not having it from my mom. So I guess my dad whipped the shit out of him, and my brother was like, okay, maybe not. Let's go away from that. But my parents were also very loving to wherever, if they ever scolded us, they also let us know that like they still loved us, and we could always like get back together. We didn't like sit around and watch YouTube, but we would, watch a show together. Or like me and my dad, we would always sit back and we would play cards and watch The Biggest Loser, the show on TV where all the people were trying to like lose weight and whatnot, like every week. That was our kind of thing, but I don't know. What did do you and your dad like sit around and watch shows? You just said you watch YouTube together. What do you guys like to watch?
We watch. So there's this guy called what is it? It's Youngbloods on YouTube. It's about a guy, and he goes around in Australia. Let me look up his name real quick. He goes around in Australia, literally. Him and his girlfriend, whichever new girlfriend he has of the week, because I always see different chicks in the videos. So I'm like, dude, this guy he's got such a life. He travels islands. He has his own fishing boat, and he literally just finds islands, chills, goes and spear fishes in the ocean with all these sharks. Like, these guys are crazy. They hold their breaths for like 3-4 minutes.
That's insane.
Go 30, 40, 50 feet down into the ocean. Boom, spearfish like a rockfish or something, and then all these sharks are just swimming around them like nothing, and they're like, oh, got my dinner, and then they'll go up to the boat, sit on an island with sea turtles or something, and cook up the fish and just chill.
So you already had me at Australia and Babes. Like, you didn't have to go any farther, and I was already interested. But speaking of all this other crazy stuff, does he just go out on a boat, find an island, and just fish, and then like hang out on the island for a day, or what's he do?
Yeah, him and his buddies go like different islands. They explore the remote islands that are around Australia, and they just take their fishing boat out there, and they YouTube everything like on a GoPro and their own cameras, and just them spear fishing, swimming with sharks. Like,
that sounds awesome.
Hanging out with sea turtles. Like, his name is, they call him Brody Youngbloods Moss, but he actually just quit his job as a full-time electrician to be a full-time YouTuber now, because so many people are interested in seeing this guy go around islands. It's fun. I see Dad watching it all the time. I'm like, watching your Australian dude again. He's like, man, I think I'm gonna.
Mate.
He's like, I think I'm gonna retire, buy a fishing boat, and just go to Australia. I was like, yo, Pops, if you do that, I'm in.
Dude,
I'm down.
that sounds cool. Well, I mean, come on, that doesn't really surprise me that he was able to quit his full-time job and like do this, because people will listen to anything on, like, you listen to these podcasts nowadays and it's just like, hi, we're these two girls sitting here and we're gonna talk about life and what we do, and and it's like, dude, that's boring. That sounds insane. Like, that's the life for me.
He makes $500K.
$500K for just living a lavish life of hanging out and doing cool stuff
and posting it on YouTube and everybody watching it.
Dude, we're in the wrong business.
We are in the wrong business.
That's why we're in this business.
We're also in Washington State. There's not really an area where we could just go spear fishing.
Well, okay, that's true, but I believe that the Pacific Northwest we could do a twist on that. Like, he's down there where it's like hot and spearfishing and whatnot. We could go up where it's like cool and whatnot in the woods and find bears and shit and like do fun stuff up there, because like nature's beautiful in all different kinds of ways. We could just do the cold part of nature and he does the hot part of nature.
Well, yeah, until we get ragtagged from a grizzly bear.
Well, that's
motherfuckers are like 30 miles per hour, dude. I'm outrunning your ass. I'm not outrunning the grizzly bear.
Hey man, that's why I carry 25 rounds of hollow points on me at all times.
That's fine. That's going to feel like a little pickle in them.
It's going to do a lot better than a stick, for God's sakes.
I am just going to Derrick Henry stiff arm your ass out of the way. And if it gets you first, I hope it kind of feasts on you a little bit, because I don't got that much gas.
while we're out in the woods, I'll just constantly be whittling a little stick, and you're like, oh, what's that for? It'll be, oh yeah, I'm just making a stick so that I can roast something for when we start a fire, when really I'm waiting for a bear to attack, because I know that you're going to stiff arm me like Derrick Henry, and as I'm going down, I'm going to throw this fucking spear into your goddamn calf, and you're going to fall onto the ground, and I'm going to be able to get up and just run past your broken ass.
Not if the bear's already got your ass from when I stiff-armed you.
If I just throw and then get up and run, you're done. You got a stick sticking out of the back of your leg, you're toasted.
That's fine. I'm faster than you on one leg than you are on your two.
Dude, get the hell out of here with that.
Do you have any shows you watch with your I know you said Biggest Loser, but there's got to be something other than...
Yeah, that was many, many years ago. We used to just kind of hang out and do that. But anymore, it's just sort of because I live with my dad now. It's just two of us, and if we do watch a show together or something, it's usually we'll just like he'll make dinner or something, and then we'll kick back and we'll just watch a few episodes. Like he likes to watch Shameless on Netflix. Hilarious show. At first, it didn't really have me because I was just like, these are just a bunch of white trash losers. Like
they're always drunk and shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, if I wanted to watch this, I could just go back and relive my life from 3 or 4 years ago. Like, shit, man, get the hell out of here with this. But
I was in that life.
yeah, trust me, you remember that. As I say, I could just go back and do that all over again, but that sucked. But being able to be on the outside and watch other people's lives fall apart, like, much worse than mine, because that show is pretty intense, and I was never to that extent, but I was just kind of like, it's funny now because it's so just like raw. All the humor in there is just so raw and brutal, and like everyone's just shitting on each other, but they're like, we all hate each other, but we're all one big happy family that's fallen apart, but we still love each other in the end. So that's a good show, Shameless. Me personally, I like that's about the most that we watch, or we'll watch like Monday Night Football, or we'll just watch football when it's on or something, just some sports. But like myself, if I'm just watching YouTube, usually I like to watch a lot of PC building videos because I'm into building PCs and whatnot. And so I'll just see like what's the hottest, newest, latest stuff out, whatever. What's the things that I can't necessarily afford, but I'll always dream about wanting to put into my PC.
For sure.
There's a lot of that, just a lot of like video game content and shit. And I don't know, nothing too crazy. But now that you told me about Swaggy McPants over here down in Australia, I'm going to have to check that out because that sounds pretty intense.
Dad and I have also been watching helicopter hog hunting.
Dude.
So this one guy in Texas, he went up in a helicopter, and so on farmland, like hogs and bobcats, coyotes, like they all destroy the land and the agriculture for like the cattle.
There are so many hogs in like the U.S. That's crazy.
Yeah, like they contaminate the water, so then the cattle can't drink clean water, and then the cattle dies because they're sick and shit. So this guy, these landowners call for hunters to like just go up, and they go up in a helicopter and just
eradicate the enemy.
Just tink. Like I'm some of these dudes' shots, it's like one hit.
Dude, tried doing
they're
that.
in a helicopter, and this guy's flying sideways. He's like, yep, I got him. Tink. All you see is a big-ass hog front flip.
It doesn't work.
No, well, because we suck.
Yeah, true.
But this guy, like some 60-year-old white dude, just AR, tunk, just... I mean, one shot.
Tapping him. Just
one tapping him. He got this bobcat in a tree the other day. It was pretty gnarly.
So I haven't seen the one where they're shooting from the helicopter, but a couple years ago I saw something along the same lines. I think it was also like hogs or some other sort of animal that was just infesting this farmer's property basically. And he had these folks come out at night. They were wearing like night vision scopes on their ARs and whatnot, and they're just setting up and they can see all these things, and they would just like send their dog out, and the dog would wake all these hogs up, and they would start like running around like crazy. And this dude was just lighting them up, just one after another, just like, oh, there's one, pop, there's another one, pop. And these things are like, no pun intended, running full bore, just like hauling ass into the woods. And he's just, nope, say goodnight, pop, pop, pop. Like, they like taking candy from a goddamn baby.
Yeah,
it's insane.
There's some interesting stuff on YouTube. I actually enjoy it. You can find
one YouTube rabbit hole that I did just go down recently. Now that we're talking about it, I remembered, and I do kind of want to get your perspective on this.
Okay.
It was a video about transgender athletes in sports at all levels. And it really intrigued me. So I started like doing research, and I read some articles and whatnot about basically men that transition into women, as well as women that transition into men, and them playing in professional sports, and basically the perception of it. And I read a lot of articles that were very pro right, that were like
against it.
Yeah. Like, nah, these biological men should not be competing with women. And it's like, you can tell that they're super conservative articles. But then again, I also read the articles that were super pro left, like crazy to the left, that were basically calling out everyone and telling them how horrific they are for judging anyone. And it's like, yeah, I'm not agreeing with judging anyone, but there's also a fine line when it comes to transitioning athletes in sports. And from what I understand, and from the multiple articles that I did read from either sides, is the general consensus was after about 2 to 2.5 years and beyond of taking the appropriate hormones for whatever you're transitioning into, your statistics and your numbers when it comes to raw data and like how fast they were running or how many push-ups or sit-ups, because that was the metrics for a lot of these things, were sit-ups, push-ups, and mile to mile and a half run. And after the 2 to 2.5 year mark, a lot of their numbers of the transgendered athletes were very similar to the numbers of the sport that they were competing in. So like when men transitioned into women after 2.5 years of taking the hormones and the estrogen and whatnot, they were basically on the same level as the women that they were competing against. And I get it, because a couple years ago, when this was kind of coming out as a new thing, there was not much data to go by. It was just kind of like, hey, look at this big burly man that's been transitioning for a month, and he went and competed in
broke like 6 state records.
Yeah, like goes and just crushes everything. And it's like, okay, well, he just won 14 out of 14 events. Like, well, excuse me, she just won 14 out of 14 events. Yeah. And like, this is kind of unfair. But now that we're a few years down the line and there's actual data and there's things that we can look at that tell us raw statistics and numbers that correlate with these kind of things, it goes to show that at a certain point after they've transitioned so far, they're able to compete at basically the same level as the athletes that they are their target demographic of competing with. And so I just wanted to like explain all that first before we got into it. I want to know, what do you think about basically just transgender athletes in sports?
Oh, I don't care if there's transgender athletes in sports.
All right.
I just think if we're gonna do it, make an own league for them, maybe.
All right.
Because here's the thing: if you're a chick and you're competing your whole life, say you go to Alabama for like swimming or something, right? Yeah. You've competed your whole life to be a national champion, to get a spot on the Olympic roster and everything, right? And then some dude who comes in who hasn't done like the hormonal like transition, he's still kind of going, he still has his like man genetics.
So maybe like right at the very beginning of him starting the process.
Yeah, just
hasn't really got into it that far.
Yeah, like he still biologically has an advantage.
Okay.
How fair do you think that is?
See, that's
if he comes in with very little training and beats her by half second.
True.
Or 0.1 of a second, or whatever, it's a close one. Okay.
It's definitely a very like there's a lot of gray area here.
Yeah, there's a lot of gray area. I think just make it another league. I mean, why not?
Well, because here's the argument for that. If you did say make another league, there could be, and say you restrict, say you made a transgender women's league and a transgender men's league for the people that are transitioning. At what point do they get out of that league into the regular league?
Like the Olympics or something?
Well, I mean, not necessarily. Say they even had like transgender women's and men's Olympics.
Yeah.
Even at the highest level. At what point do they get to leave the transgender one and go and say a man transitioned into a woman and he goes into the transgender Olympics and he's 1 month into his transition where he's still got a lot of those masculine traits and masculine things about him and definitely has an advantage over just like a cisgendered woman. Say that person's in the league with a person that started in that league and has been transitioning for 3+ years now, and it's a man that's transitioned into a woman. They're 3 years down the line, and they're on that same level where they could compete competitively with natural cisgendered women, and it would be kind of unfair to be competing against that just starting out to transition woman. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying a guy who is just starting his transition into a woman is coming in, and then there's a dude who's been already transitioned
for multiple years,
and
they have to compete against each other because they're both in the transgender quote Olympics. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. Yes. I see.
So
what you're
at
saying.
what point am I saying how far down the line do they have to, how many years down the line do they have to compete in the transgender Olympics before they would then be allowed to just compete in the standard, say, women's Olympics?
Yeah.
Because that, say you've got the transgender ones and you've been transitioned for 5-6 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And you're full blown, like, say I transition and I'm a full blown woman at this point, and then you've only been transitioning for a month and you would crush me at certain things. Like, yeah, you would obviously destroy me. You know?
That would be the gray area that comes
Exactly.
into having the new leagues. And I think you're right on that. That would be difficult to judge on or decide, who or when you get to compete. I think back to the point of just transitioning in general and being able to play. I think it takes women's sports away, to be honest. I think with what we're trying to do now, like NBC is trying to get they just signed a TV deal to host or show women's professional hockey. NBC,
that's pretty cool.
Right? NBC's got women's hockey from the Premier League and like the NWSL here in America. Like, I think we're starting to get that progress, and the WNBA is getting bigger. I think we're starting to get that progress where women's sports is going to be like really competitive to watch, and people really want to watch it, and it'll be up there where some people don't want to watch the dudes play. They want to watch the women play. And I think that goes back down to square one if we start allowing transgender boys into girls' leagues.
I could see that. I could definitely see the argument for that, and I could definitely see where, where that would be like a good example of how it could be a benefit. Maybe, I don't know. Don't know about this, but I could see how they're at that point. It could be like, okay, cool. Maybe there should be another league for, like, say, basketball or hockey or something that's like transgender people, but then I feel like that's gonna say this trend continues where women's sports get big, and then they're on a semi-similar platform as like the WNBA is, just as big as the NBA. At what point then does the transgender BA, I don't know what you'd call that, the TBA or whatever, gets to be, or the TNBA or something? At what point does that get to be at the same level? Because I think that would then be at square one where the women's sports would be, and like not as many people are going to watch that,
Yeah, you see it with the Sarah Fuller Vanderbilt issue when she was the woman soccer player and she came in to kick for the men's football team.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And I mean, you just have guys ragging on her because like they're like, she was like tweeting, "Oh, play like a woman," and I've done this is making history for a woman. But man, if I'm a girl looking at that, I don't really think of that as history. You did a squib kick 15 yards in the air, and the dudes fell down because they didn't want to smack you. Like,
you're looking at this from a dude's perspective.
No, absolutely. But that's what I'm saying though. Like, there's a reason girls don't play in boys sports. Boys don't play in girl sports.
True. I mean, yeah.
Why do you not see a girl playing football? Because you might think she'd die if a dude with full muscle, like 150 pounds on her, is running at her. He's going.
Well, I mean, what if there's a chick that's?
If there's a chick that can do that, then I want to see her play football. If she can do it, then let her play football in the men's league. You see girls in high school crack some dudes just as hard as dudes crack other dudes. When I was in high school, I saw a girl kick her at Franklin Pierce.
No shit.
Yeah, she had the longest ponytail, so I knew she was hard, and like she kicked it, and I think she made the tackle every time on kickoff.
Dude, that's killer.
So like if you could do it,
do it.
More power to you. Do it. Prove me wrong. But right now, the consistency of it is you don't see a lot of switching over because
that's
of
true.
So and if and it's not our decision. We don't get to come up with if we make transgender people play in certain leagues or if they make their own league. That's going to be a political issue down the road for everybody and government and whoever and certain states. So I think in general, if a girl wants to play football, more power to him. If a dude wants to play water polo with the girls.
Okay, 2 stories real quick. One that touches on that, one that's just a funny story from high school. Speaking of girls playing against dudes, I just remember in PE class there was one really scrawny kid that was just a jackass, and he was always mean to people. And there was this other girl that was like not a big girl by any means, but she was just bigger than he was because he was a scrawny little shit, and he kept talking shit to her. So we were playing like indoor soccer in the gym or something, and she just full bore. He wasn't looking, and he was standing right next to the bleachers. She checked him into those bleachers, and like he got up and was crying. He was like,
"That's what I like to see right there."
Why did you do that? Yeah. That was so mean. And she was like, "Then shut the fuck up and stop being an asshole to me." And he was like, "Oh, teacher." But anyways, going on to what you were saying, I just had to say that because.
But that's perfect though. Like
that's hilarious.
Like if you're running your mouth as a dude and a girl wants to pop you, you better be able to take the hit. Like,
anyways, what you were just saying a second ago about like if chicks want to play dude sports, cool, and if dudes want to do underwater basket weaving with chicks, whatever, or water polo or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
What I was gonna say is, imagine if the story was reversed and it was first dude to try to play college basketball on a women's team. That would not be the same story as first woman accepted to play men's ball on a dude's team.
Right. Oh, well, you see Sarah Fuller makes a football team. Everybody.
That's just kind of what the
it's history. Yeah, it's history, But then you get like
if the roles were reversed.
Joe Schmo going to play at UConn for the women's basketball team. They're like, okay, hold on, this dude's literally gonna like break the backboard, or he's gonna be dunking over chicks and like. So yeah, I could see it's a different perspective, but
Have you seen where I want to say it was 2 women referee were gonna be reffing this? They were reffed in the same game for one of the NFL the NFL championship games. I want to say.
Well, the Super Bowl gets a woman officiator.
Hey, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think that's crazy. I mean, not crazy in like a bad way. It's just like, it's cool to see how sports are progressing.
I saw a meme. Now you say the sports are progressing. The memes are progressing.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
Sports. I saw it. There's this one, before I get your prediction on the Super Bowl, I saw it and it said first girl or woman to officiate, and then one dude responded with, "She'll do a great job because women are really good at telling what men are doing wrong at."
Oh, brutal!
I thought that was a pretty good one. I thought, to all the ladies out there, we see you. But okay. Tom Brady.
Before we go on, I just got to correct myself. It was not 2 women officiating an NFL championship game. It was first 2 women to officiate same NBA game. That happened just a few nights ago. I just want to make sure that I got that one correct before we went on, because I didn't want to just like make a bold claim then be like totally lost. So I just wanted to look that one up and fact check myself there. But continue.
Tom Brady.
Yes.
7. Is he going for number 7?
He's going for 7.
You think he's got it?
Dude, it's it'll be interesting because I heard something the other day that in the last 2 years, Patrick Mahomes won the last Super Bowl, and before that, Tom Brady the one before it. And now they're playing against each other in this Super Bowl. So it's kind of like, you get one, I get one, we'll see who gets the third.
I think Patty Mahomes gets this one.
You think so?
I think because he's younger, he can read the defense better when they're using their blitzes. He's one of the best in the game at quarterback at reading different blitzes that they.
As much, okay. I gotta do this little preface here. As much as I am a diehard Seahawks fan, and as much as it hurts me, it's painful to think about the 1 yard line with Marshawn Lynch that we didn't rush in for the Super Bowl victory against the New England Patriots when Tom Brady was with them, and we threw the pick instead on the 1 yard. Yes, Malcolm Butler, great play to you, all that shit. As much as it hurts me to think of all that, I am kind of pumped to see Tom Brady play in this Super Bowl, simply because he has left the literal best franchise in NFL history, the best head coach, in my opinion, the best. I mean, just what Bill Belichick has been able to do with the Patriots from when he started head coaching them back in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s. I don't know the exact date. From that time until now, I mean, sure, they kind of shit the bed this year with Cam Newton and whatnot, and a lot of their starters opted not to play because of Corona. Like, I get that, and they kind of had a bad season, but from what he's been able to do with Tom Brady and the Patriots for all those years, going through different players, having Gronk on his team, Julian Edelman, to Jesus, who did they have back in the day? Like, did they have Randy Moss back in the day? I
don't want to name the other tight end, Aaron Hernandez.
Well, he was great when he played. I mean, come on, let's give it to him. He might have CTE'd himself, but he was great when he played. Just all the different weapons that he's been able to utilize over the years. I mean, a couple years ago, it was Chris Hogan for a season. Like, he's just been able to.
They had Moss.
Yeah, like
that was
Randy
when he
Moss
had their records. Those 2 years.
I mean, it's just it's crazy. I mean, yes, Tom Brady has had a lot of good players that have surrounded him, but he's also taken a lot of shit players and just like basically put a little bit of his Tom Brady sparkle on them and makes them great players. Tells them, hey, do this, run this route, hit this play, do it this way, and you're gonna be open, and I be ready because I'll hit you. And they're good, and he makes them good. So to know that Tom Brady can leave the best franchise in football history and then continue his domination with another team and just like slide in there. Sure, he called up Gronk a year out of retirement and said,
Antonio Brown.
And hold on, I'm getting there, and said, hey, Gronky boy, you want to come on in for another Super Bowl championship opportunity? And he's just like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll come play with you. Like, to do that, and then Antonio Brown, like, yeah, sure, you're the greatest quarterback to have ever played in the game. I'll come play with you too. And like, to have all these things around him and all these people that he can use as weapons. And I mean, Jesus, they started the season at like 2-4 or something. They had a shit start to the season, and to go from that to playing in the Super Bowl because Tom Brady's Tom goddamn Brady and he's not a loser. He will win one way or the other, whether it's deflating the balls or not. Like, it's not my prerogative, but I'm just so blown away to see this. And I know I sound like I'm ranting and raving about Tom Brady right now, but it's just kind of like
sucking him off.
Yeah, a little bit, but still, it's just like, think about that. He's going for his 7th Super Bowl with a totally different team. I mean, Gronk's with him, but a totally different team now. Like, no, that's insane.
It's amazing. But last quarterback to beat Tom Brady, Week 12 of this year.
Who is that?
Patty Mahomes.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, that'll be interesting.
And the next quarterback that's going to beat him in the Super Bowl, Patty Mahomes. That kid's a stud, and I think he's going to be a good quarterback for a long time.
I think it'll really go to say something about Tom Brady if he does win the Super Bowl, because the last few games he played, beat Drew Brees and the Saints, beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers, and then to beat Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, that would be a pretty good end to your season, maybe even end of your career. I don't know.
Nah, I think he'll play another one.
You think he'll play another season?
Yeah.
Dude.
He's just so energetic every time. He's like 45, and
that is really kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you, like, if you take care of yourself and you have that kind of passion and drive to be a winner and be successful, and just like even in the face of adversity, like I want to say in the game against Drew Brees, possibly even, they were down and he was like, nah, fuck this. And he turned around and he threw for like 500 yards. Yeah, he had a few picks that game, but he had more touchdowns than picks, and he ended up winning the game because he's just like, no, we're not going to lose. We're going to win this game.
Yeah, he's a good quarterback. I think I think would the weapons help him a lot. I think, but Patty Mahomes has a better weapons. I think Super Bowl MVP will go to Tyreek Hill.
All right.
Wide receiver. He'll have over 200 yards, 3 touchdown catches.
3 touchdown. That's a bold claim there.
It's either, I think it's going to be him. And I think the Chiefs come out 27-24 on this one.
All right. Chiefs 27-24. Tyreek Hill going to be the MVP.
200 yards, 3 touchdown receptions.
200 plus yards or just 200 even?
Yeah, 200 plus. Whatever.
200 plus yards, 3 touchdowns receiving. Because I know they use him just a little bit as a running back.
We'll do 3 total touchdowns. Two of them will be receiving.
Watch, he has 1 receiving touchdown, 1 rushing touchdown, and they run like a trick play, and he tosses one into Patrick Mahomes. Wouldn't that be insane?
That would be nuts,
dude.
Oh man, that would be crazy.
Okay. Here's my predictions. As much as I do love the Chiefs, don't get me wrong. I like what Patrick Mahomes has been able to do there. He's an amazing quarterback. What, 3rd year into the league? Third year in the league or something, 3rd or 4th, I don't know. Very early on in his career, and he's already got a Super Bowl under his belt, and he's going back for a second one. I mean, he's kind of dominating here. He's a very good player. I'm going to give it to Brady. I'm saying the Buccaneers with Tom Brady, Gronk, Antonio Brown, they're going to win. Tom Brady's going to at least throw for 4 touchdowns, excuse me. He's going to throw for 4 Super Bowls. He's going to throw for 4 touchdowns. He'll have, I'm saying at least 350 plus yards. And then, let's see, MVP is going to be Gronk. Gronk's going to be MVP. I feel like Gronk's going to MVP this Super Bowl. I know he hasn't had the greatest performance like this season, but I think he's going to step it up here. They're going to win the Super Bowl. He'll be the MVP with at least 2 of those touchdowns, and he's going to go out and he's going to retire after they win and say, all right, that's my last one there. Boom. Here we go, guys. Thanks for the great season. Thanks for another Super Bowl. Thanks for all the goddamn money, because I'm going to get so many more fucking endorsement deals now. It's insane. And, that's what I'm predicting. Total ending score. What did I say? He's going to throw 4 touchdowns at least. Mm-hmm. So what's that, 28? I'm going to say it's going to end at least like 42.
Wow.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game.
Wow.
42-32. No, 32. You can't really get 32. Yeah, no, 31, because that'd be a 28 and a field goal. 42-31 Buccaneers. That's what I'm saying.
Just you figuring that out, man. That was good. So.
Well, I was just like, I watch a lot of football, but I can't just like off the top of my head.
Math is hard.
Is 32 an easy score to get based off 7s and 3s, maybe some 6s in there? You know what I'm saying?
So you could do 4 touchdowns, 2 safeties. I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm just saying, But anyways, dinner. Are we betting dinner on this?
Sure.
All right.
Deal.
We'll bet a nice little dinner.
A nice steak souffle.
Better take me out to Olive Garden when this shit's over.
Ah, Jesus, get out of here with
Back
that.
when everything reopens. Let's get it.
Yeah, maybe. Monday.
Yes, sir. Yep.
We're going to be having some restaurants open.
Well, other than that, everybody get out this week. All right. Get out of the house. Go to the restaurant. Go have some fun.
Go enjoy yourselves finally.
Be people.
If you're willing to go out and you feel safe and comfortable to do so, I'm a bartender at a restaurant. Come see me. Come hang out. Come enjoy some drinks. Come eat some food. Do what you want. Enjoy your life again.
Yes.
That being said, we will see you next week.
Yep.